Hi guys, what's good? Yes, today's video basically it's a video of a noble cause. We've decided to put all our videos on hold for today's posting, so we thought we can post a video to just help a sister who is in need. There's this little girl, a Zambian, who has a heart condition. She was born normal, but a year after that, she was discovered that she has a heart condition by her parents. Her name is Alexis-May. So she's been struggling with a heart condition for quite some time now. And, parents have reached dead end, basically, in terms of resources, because she needs medication, and this medication costs a lot of money. She needs to be flown out of the country to be attended to, and to replace whatever tubes that she's operating on now, so that she may definitely stabilize with time. So we have joined in this noble cause. That is my wife and myself. We have done our contribution in a small way, so we thought, let's do this further by sharing the story the mother told. This story is everywhere, I think, on social media. There's also they have opened a YouTube channel specifically for Alexis-May, and on Facebook the story is everywhere. So we thought, let's also share this story with our subscribers, so that it can go as far as possible and be able to find as many people as possible who can donate to this noble cause, to make sure that this little girl gets the help she needs. So we thought, let's share this, and we trust that you as subscribers, as you watch, you will also definitely watch this, share this video, so that it can reach as many people as possible. And also we urge you that make the donations. We'll link the bank details and mobile money details within the description down below. So get the bank details in the description down below, so that you can, whatever amount you can manage, it can go a long way. The goal is of 400,000 kwacha. I know as of today, they have raised quite an amount, but we cannot stop here. Let's continue donating to make sure that this little girl gets the help she needs. She needs to be flown out of the country. So those annual medical checkups also needs a lot of money. So let's join in. This is what I think, where all of us needs to unite together and make sure that this the condition of this little girl gets back to normal. And also we pray that God will definitely heal this little girl. So watch the video as the mother told it as it is. So so watch the video to the end. Bye.
Hey, my name is Sandra Piri. I am a 29-year-old mother of two gorgeous kids, a 5-year-old girl, and almost 2 years old boy. I met my husband my late husband. I met him in 2012. We got married in 2014. He actually proposed a month after we started dating, and we got married in 2014. And just like any other love story, we had our bad days, but trust me, for the most time it was great. He was my best friend. He was just everything to me. And in 2015 we discovered that we were pregnant for our daughter, and it felt like it was just heaven after another piece of heaven. So in 2016, January 6th to be exact, we delivered our daughter, and she was just this gorgeous, healthy, beautiful baby girl. So about 10 days after her first birthday, if I'm not mistaken, she developed a cough. We threw her a birthday party, and it was great, but she would never always be out there. So when she developed a cough, it was just like a minor, tiny cough. It felt like it wasn't anything serious. So I remember being at work that day, And my mom, who at the time was helping me take care of my daughter, called me and said Alexis has developed a cough. By the time it was 16 hours, she called me again and she said that the cough was getting worse, which didn't quite make sense because it was just literally 2 hours after her first call. But then she called and said, look, this cough is getting worse and it kind of looks like she's not breathing that fine. So I immediately called my husband and we rushed home to go and get her, and by the time we were getting there, she really had this cough like she had had it for a very long time. We took her to the hospital, and at the hospital the doctor was asking us how long she has had this cough for, because every time she was coughing, which was literally all the time, it sounded like it was a nagging cough and it sounded like she had had it for a very long time. Because of how serious the coughing was, the doctor suggested that we get an x-ray done, which we did. And when he looked at the x-ray, he noticed that the size of her heart was bigger. So he then advised that we see a pediatrician from that same hospital, and he gave her something to help the cough, but the cough didn't get better. The following day, we went to the hospital and we saw the pediatrician, who later on said he could hear a mama. He could hear like sounds in her heart, in her chest. So he referred us to University Teaching Hospital to go and see a cardiologist there, because they were, from the heart being big on the x-ray to the sounds that the heart was making, it meant that she might have had a problem with her heart. Long story short, we got to UTH, we saw the cardiologist. At the time, he told us that he noticed that she had a hole, a very big hole in her heart, and it needed to be patched up. So there was a list that a number of kids with cases similar to hers were being put on, and they're going to put Alexis on that list, and we'd have to wait for October when the doctors from, it must have been Israel or Italy, will come through, and then they'll be able to advise what our next step should be. So that was in January, and that didn't sit well with my husband and I, because we were the ones who were facing sleepless nights with this little girl who just kept on coughing. She could barely breathe, and we just needed to have a solution as fast as possible. So we then started chasing with medical insurance to get us help for her, and fortunate enough, the insurance that we were on at the time could fly a patient out of Zambia, because that was the only way we could get her that help. By the time, it took a process to get everything in order, to get the authorization, to get doctors' approvals and all of those things. By the time we finally managed to, we found out about her heart problem when she was a year old. By the time we managed to actually get a final approval to take her to South Africa, which at the time was the closest place to take her to, she was already 1 year, 5 months. We got to South Africa in May 2017, on 2nd May 2017, and after the doctor saw her heart, he said there was nothing he could do to help her, because he didn't even understand how we had been with her this entire time when she had an issue such as the one that she had. So when he did the test, he discovered that she just didn't have one hole in the heart, she had 3 holes in her heart, and also she was born with a defect in her heart, that one of the arteries was not joined to her heart, like she had a missing artery, in other words. So her heart, from the time that she was born to the time when we were doing that test at 1 year, 5 months, had worked so much and became bigger because it had so much pressure in it. And because her heart was trying so hard to survive without any medication the entire time, it then caused pressure in her heart, which the doctor termed as pulmonary hypertension. It's a pressure that was causing her lungs to start failing. It was very heartbreaking news for us. We had no idea. We were living with her this entire time, and she was going through this, and we had no idea. So he gave us that news. We were broken. He said there was nothing he could do. We started just literally breaking down in his office. And then he then said, look, let me try put her on some medication. And if this pressure that has built in her heart reduces, then maybe we can do something. But if the pressure does not reduce, then we cannot do anything. So he put her on a medication, and we went back home with her, and then she got very, very sick. She got even worse and had to be had to get admitted. But the medication did help, and the pressure did reduce. So she was operated on the 31st of May, because she needed to be on the medication for about 2 weeks. So they did the operation, and that required them putting an artificial valve in her heart, because remember, she was born without one of those arteries, so they had to put an artificial one. And luckily enough, it was found very easily, and they had to patch up. They only patched up 2 holes because she had so much pressure for her edge in her heart that if they patched up all 3 holes, it would cause even more pressure. So they only patched up 2 holes, and then they left 1 to just help ease the pressure that was going on in her heart. Thank God the operation went very well, and she was in ICU for a number of days. But by the time it was June, she was discharged, but the doctor still needed us to be around because we were coming from a far off place and he needed to see her for reviews. Finally, sometime in July, he then told us that we could go home, but because her case was very big and the operation had been done at a time when it was already too late to do the operation in their words, because it was supposed to have been done when she was a little bit younger, like at 3 months. In September, we discovered that we were pregnant for our 2nd child. And in October, we had to go back for review to SA. And because of the type of condition that my daughter has, she easily caught infections. So she caught an infection on our way back from SA from the review. That was sometime, must have been like on the 26th of October. So when we immediately just landed from the airport and had to go straight to the hospital because her temperature was so high she could barely breathe. And at the hospital she was instantly admitted. So on the 28th of October, she got discharged. And obviously the entire time while we were admitted, my husband had to be running up and about. He had to come to the hospital, see us, bring us food, go back for work, and all of those things. So he was tired, understandably so. So on the 28th, when she got discharged around 15 hours. He kept on complaining about how he was tired, and he left work early that day because he was tired. And by the time it was 21, I was dozing. I remember being on the couch, I was dozing because I was so tired. And he just came and woke me up in such a panic, and he said, "Babe, I have a headache." So I told him, I said, "Let me go and get you the medication you usually take for the headache," because Panadol would never work for him every time he has a headache. So I quickly rushed to the kitchen and I was trying to get the medication, and he came and he said, "Babe, my head is really hurting and it's never hurt this bad before." So I said, "Okay, just go to the bathroom and just run water onto your head while I'm trying to get you this medication." He never even made it to the bathroom. He just got to the corridor, and I heard him banging on the floor, on the corridor floor, and he was praying. And he just kept on saying, "God, please, not now. God, please, not now, not now." And I freaked out because I had never seen my husband like that before. So I said, "Let me take you to the hospital." He said, "I'm in so much pain, babe. I'm in so much pain." He kept on just repeating the same words. He kept on saying, "I'm in so much pain. God, not now." And then I quickly got the car keys, so I got him, and they said, let me take you to the hospital. I put him on the chair, and he just kept on saying, God, please, not now. So I was getting the car keys, and as I turned around to look behind, he was falling on the couch, and that's how he fell, like in a sleeping position. So I had to start looking for the neighbors, and finally I managed to get someone, and then they managed to help me put him in the car. And while we were in the car, he started seizing. He started having these seizures, and he started throwing up. We got to the hospital. I had to take him to the nearest hospital, and we didn't get any help until 45 minutes later. And the doctor then said, it looks like there's something wrong with his brain. Maybe the headache was too much, so we need to do a CT scan to discover what exactly is happening. So by the time we were getting him to the other hospital that was able to do the CT scan, his heart had stopped. They had to resuscitate him. They managed to resuscitate him, and did the CT scan. The results would only come out the following day. All of this happened so fast. The following day, he was put into ICU, so I couldn't be with him, like by his side. By 6 in the morning, when I was going to the hospital, the doctor said that there's a vein in his brain that burst, according to the CT scan. So he was he was already brain dead, and there's nothing they could do. He was already gone. So I argued with them because I'm a Christian, and I had seen the hand of God over my daughter's life just 4 months prior to that event. And I remember it so well, the doctor in essay telling us that there's nothing he could do, but still God made a way. So I said, he's gonna be fine, he's gonna come out of this. And they mustn't take him off any of the life support and all of those ventilators and everything, because he was gonna be okay. He was going to come out of it. He was only in the hospital for 3 days on life support. And on the 3rd of November, I got a call at 5 from my sister-in-law, and she just said we need to go to the hospital. Because I was pregnant, so I couldn't sleep at the hospital. We couldn't be in the ward with him, so my mother-in-law would always be at the hospital, but she'd just be outside in the parking lot is where she would sleep. So that morning, his body just gave up. The oxygen wasn't working. Nothing was working. And that is how I lost my husband. That is how he died. Life obviously wasn't the same without him. I was a sick child and I was pregnant, but I still managed, because God came through. The place where he was working before he passed, they offered me a job, and they put us on a scheme, the same scheme that my daughter was using, so we're still able to to go for reviews. And because of how big her case was, I had to take her for reviews twice a year, every year from 2017, from 2018 until 2019 in October. took her for a review because most of her reviews required that she goes to the theater and they just had to thoroughly check. So that day we get to the hospital, she was okay. She obviously didn't have to eat before going to theater, and she was fine. She's a very talkative girl, you know, she was very playful. She was just really 3-year-old. And went for the procedure, which is the checkup to check her heart. But then she didn't wake up from there. So they thought that maybe it's because they had to give her a pre-med, some type of medication before she went into theater, because the child that was in theater at the time took longer than they thought that the child would. So they gave her something just to kind of help her with the hunger she had, and to help ease her in the moment until it's her turn to get into theater. So they said, you know, she's gonna wake up. That was like her 4th or 5th time she was going into theater to have her heart checked. So they said they tried waking her up, and she just, you know, pushed their hands and be like, no, let me sleep. So they said, no, she's gonna be fine. So that was at 18 hours when she came out. That was in 2019 October. At 18 hours she came out of theater. By the time it was 21 hours, she started lifting her hand and she would be shaking. So I called one of the nurses, and then they quickly took her into the emergency room, and everything happened so fast. It took them about 3 hours to stabilize her, without them clearly understanding what was happening, what had caused it, until the following day. They called, and then I went to see her, and then they said that her heart had stopped, and they didn't understand why. And because of her heart stopping, there was a period where she did not receive enough oxygen. So there was a chance that her brain did not receive oxygen for a few minutes. They were not sure how long, hence causing the brain injury. What that then meant was that there's certain things she might not be able to do. That's what they said. So she was in a medically induced coma for almost a month. And then when she woke up, my little girl couldn't see anymore. She couldn't talk. She couldn't sit. She couldn't hear. She just lost everything. She lost all her motor skills. She lost... My little girl wasn't the same. She wasn't the little girl that I brought into the hospital. I didn't understand it at the time, because I kept on asking them, isn't there something you could give her? Isn't there medication she can be on to get her back to the person that she was? Because I understand that she had a brain injury, but isn't there a way we can fix this brain injury? And unfortunately they said the only thing that can help, that maybe might help is for her to continue doing physiotherapy with hopes that one day she'll be able to walk. For her to continue doing speech therapy with hopes that one day she'll be able to talk. For her to just be on these therapies, and that she'll get better as days go by, and that maybe she won't get better, and that maybe one day she'll see, but maybe one day she'll never see. It just won't come back. So they had to put a feeding tube, because at the time she was feeding through a tube that was passing through her nose, but now they had to send us back home, and that tube is not stable. It can come out at any time. So they had to put something that was not necessarily permanent, but something that was a bit more stable before they actually put the permanent one. So in November, they did put a feeding tube in her, and it took a while for her to stabilize, because of the brain, because of the injury that happened in her brain. There's a lot of misfiring of signals that goes on in her brain, so she has a lot of seizures. So they had to stabilize those seizures first before sending us back home. So they eventually did send us back home, and now we went to SA with my daughter having a heart problem, and then I came back with her still having the heart problem, and now she has a brain injury and she has seizures that need to be controlled. In just a few months later, I think about March, I lost my job. The company that I was working for, the company that hired me, where my husband used to work, then they hired me because they wanted to continue helping me and my kids, because I have 2 kids, remember. So the company that kept us on that scheme and allowed for us to be able to go for reviews and to go for these checkups and to just give my daughter the medical attention that she needed. They were leaving the country because business was not that good, and they were closing the company. So then how do I take care of my daughter without a job? With all of these expenses, because she was taking about 7 medications for her heart, and then now she needs to take about a total of 15 medications. The 8 are for the seizures and just for her brain. And she needs physiotherapy that needs money. She needs speech therapy that needs money. She needs occupational therapy that needs money. She needs a lot of therapies that can try to bring her back to the little girl that she was, the hyper-imaginative, talkative little girl that she was. But I lost the job. I could barely even just put food on the table. So how am I going to take care of my little girl now? So through my research, because the doctors, all neurologists around, stand on the fact that the brain can be healed once it's injured. There's no medication, there's no pill, there's nothing that can make it better. But through my research, I came across a YouTube video of a little girl who went through something similar to my daughter, because she drowned and then her heart stopped and she had lack of oxygen to her brain. So I found that video, and then I started searching for the mom of that little girl on Facebook, and I found her, and then they added me to this group. It's a brain injury group that has a vast amount of information concerning other ways and other alternatives that can be used to heal kids who've gone through something that my daughter has gone through. So there's things like hyperbaric oxygen therapy. This is a therapy that uses oxygen to restore the brain. The oxygen in itself is able to heal even wounds and anything. So even though there's some doctors and science has said that the brain can be healed, but there's this doctor who found a way to heal the brain using oxygen. I managed to get in touch with that doctor with the help of friends. I managed to have a consultation with him, And he, just like other doctors, agreed that my daughter's injury to her brain was so big. Like literally every neuron in her brain was affected by that lack of oxygen. So her disabilities were that bad because of how bad the injury was. So he then suggested that if we were to do hyperbaric oxygen therapy, she would need to actually buy that chamber, and it would be able to help her. It's helped kids get their vision back, it's helped kids be able to talk again, it's helped kids be able to walk again, and like nothing happened to them. So I'll need to buy the entire chamber because my daughter would need to use it for a long period of time for us to be able to see her brain heal to a certain degree. And that chamber on its own cost about 300,000 kwacha. There's another therapy called MNRI, and it's a therapy that works extensively on the neurons and the parts of her brain that would help restore her. And there's kids also in the same group that I'm in who have totally healed from a condition such as my daughter's to completely be able to run and walk and talk. And that therapy is always also pricey. And apart from that therapy, because of that feeding tube that she has, it needs to be changed like every 6 months. The tube that my daughter currently has is the tube that she got in 2020 January, and this is now 2021, and it needs to be changed. She needs medication. I do get some of this medication from UTH, but UTH does not have this medication all the time. Sometimes they'll have only one of the 15 medications that she needs. Sometimes they'll have 2, sometimes they won't even have any at all. And in a month, I need about 4,000 kwacha just for her medication. I need a 1,000 per session for her physiotherapy. I need about a 400 kwacha per session for her speech therapy. I need her to do occupational therapy that also requires about a 400 kwacha per month per session. And in a month, she needs about 4 sessions. So I'm just here asking for help, because the past 1 year, I have been able to get her, she's been able to get the help that she needs through friends, through people, just reaching out and helping. But there's only so much that a limited number of people can do. And so I'm just humbly asking anyone out there who will be able to help. You could help me just with the 20 kwacha. If there's about 10 or 20, 30 of you who are helping with that 20 kwacha, it would still make a huge difference. I just want to get my little girl back. I have a little boy who was best friends with this girl, and he was shattered the time he saw her coming back from South Africa, and she was not able to do anything that they were able to do before. I remember times when she just came back and he would drag her and try to pull her off the bed so that they could run around the house the way they used to. I just want my little girl back. I need to get her back. There's a quality of life that she requires that I can't afford. There's certain chairs that she needs to sit on because she cannot support herself in a certain way. There's equipment that she needs to help encourage her body to try and get back to how it was, and I can't afford all of these things because there are a lot of things that she needs, and I'm not working. I am trying to do everything that I can, but this is bigger than me. I need everyone to help me. It's taken a long time for me to reach a point where I have accepted and said, yes, I have failed to do this, but I have. It's not easy waking up every day and having to see a little girl, even though she's still alive. She's not the same. She can't talk to me. She can't run around on her own. only imagine how much more she could have been able to say by now, the number of things she could have been able to do. It hasn't been easy for me to just take care of my son, who needs my attention as well. He's 3. To take care of him and to just take care of her. I have been forced to, with the little information that I have, to do physiotherapy on her, and to do speech therapy on her, to do occupational therapy on her, because I can't afford to take her to places that can actually really help her. But at the same time, I just can't let her sit there and deteriorate right before my eyes. After the loss of my husband, I suffered another loss. It's been a lot. And it would just really mean the world if at least I can have her do something, anything. After the consult with the doctor for the oxygen therapy, he advised that we start her on just the normal oxygen through her nose, and I did that for a couple of months, and just in the first few weeks of doing it with her, she started being vocal. She can't talk, but her voice can come out, and she can communicate discomfort. She can, just from those few weeks of putting oxygen through her nose. So I know for a fact that if she had a way to have that chamber, maybe she could come back to the little girl that she was. That if she had access to these therapies, she really would get better. I do know that for a fact. But she can't do all of these therapies because I can't afford them. I can't even afford her medication. You know, this is a medication that is for chronic situation. This is a medication that is helping her heart work in the condition that it's in right now. This is a medication that is suppressing her seizures, because the more seizures she has, the more injury it's causing to her brain. I can't afford this medication. I can't afford these therapies that she needs. So if I can get the help, if you could help me in any way possible, I would really be grateful. I really would. I just want Alexis-May